there was so much noise coming from downstairs. This is after like I purchased. It's now too late. The advantages of selling is that it gives you that time to grasp enough information and intel on the property that you are going to eventually buy. Money is held by attorneys who the seller pays, so I'm not even paying the attorneys. So in the deed of sale, there's no interest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Investors Chair podcast. I am your host, Ivan Sambo. Today, we're diving into a conversation I know you will all love. And in the comment section, to create the vision, we are talking about property. One of the most, can I say, controversial topic, but also favorable topic? Because people always hate and love property at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the conversation we're having today. But without wasting any time, guys, do remember to hit the like button, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, do ensure to follow the podcast as well. Without wasting any time, let's jump right straight into it. So today we are talking about property, right? And you are the guru of property. I remember I had following you on TikTok, but I saw you talking about, I think at a time about, was it rental? I think it was rentals.
Most
And I
likely.
was like, interesting, guy. Let me follow because talking about property, I talk about investments, same thing. But before we go into all the conversation about property investment, developing, building, starting your own property business, all of that, I don't love introducing people. Like I always say that. In short words, how can you introduce yourself and your background and how you entered into property?
All right. So igama ngu Billy Siziba. Better known as Bill. Some people know me as Bill Capital.
Yeah.
Because I'm a guy who always has his mind on the money. Right? Ever since I was like 10 years old, I always had my mind on money. I was always trying to make money. In fact, when you asked me when I was 10 years old, I would have told you that I want to be a businessman.
Yeah.
All right, because my father was the first person that I saw hold like a stack of cash, like you know the music videos. Yeah.
What to
So I'd
ball.
never seen that. Like this, and I'm talking about this was back in 2000, the year 2000.
Yo.
Stack of hundreds. So I was like, no, man. You know, I see this in the music videos, but like I see my dad is the guy in charge. He's the guy who's paying people. He's the guy who's like making things happen. So from a young age, I knew that's what I want to do. So yeah, I pursued business from a very young age, and property is just one of the avenues which I chose to invest my money. And I think a lot of people are inspired by my unique approach to it. So that's basically me.
Let's start with, like, I want to go back now. What was your first business venture you ever done? Like the first one that you think about. Let's say first, the first one just pop in right now.
Yeah, I remember it very well. So it was matric farewell. My older brother, who's about 8 years older than me, he bought me a camera just to, you know, congratulate me for finishing matric.
Yeah.
And it was a very nice camera. I remember it was a Fujifilm, digital camera. And this thing made me look professional, you know? So I'm like, everyone's using their phones there, matric farewell. I'm using this camera. And I started taking photos of, you know, my friends, my peers, and the following year it was my gap year.
Yeah.
And I had nothing else to do besides play around with this camera. So I started doing photo shoots for models. I started, you know, doing photo shoots for weddings and stuff like that. So that was my first business. I called it Bill's Photography.
Yeah.
Started a Facebook page and made my first 4 or 5 figures there. You know?
4 or 5 figures.
4 or 5 figures there, you know.
Okay, before we go deep into the entire conversation I have today, I want us to play a short game.
Yes.
A short, simple game. You know me, I love the JC. I always speak about the JC. And I know you also know, you invest into the JC and you know a lot of some companies out there.
I've lost some money.
I'm going to name 5
Sure.
JSE listed companies.
Yeah.
You have to tell me whether you're going to keep and invest into it or you're going to sell the company. If you sell it, it's a bad company.
Okay.
And remember, guys, nothing we say is financial advice, but just having a fun conversation. So, first company, Standard Bank.
I would sell.
You'll sell.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Competition, Standard Bank, Capitec Bank.
I would buy.
Pick and Pay.
I would sell.
Woolworths.
I would buy.
Last one. I'm going to throw this one. Lewis. The furniture store.
Sell.
You have no hope on Lewis.
Now, I feel like the way people are buying furniture nowadays is like online. So
But people KZN, Mpumalanga,
really?
Limpopo.
Okay.
Lewis is still big there.
I didn't know. You know, when you don't hear about something, you think, okay.
Okay, let's jump now into property. How did you enter into the property space?
All right. So I decided to study architecture
Yeah.
when I went to varsity. It wasn't an easy decision because I wasn't really that qualified. A lot of people don't know. Like I was probably the lowest in my class to qualify. I only qualified because I was very good at drawing and design. So my portfolio is actually what got me in. My marks were really terrible. In fact, I had to rewrite maths. My science mark wasn't so great. So, my lecturers looked at my marks. They were like, look, we're going to give you a chance just based off your design ability. So it's purely just my talent. And I didn't do art at school, right? So this is just self-taught. My uncle actually taught me the basics and, I used to spend time just drawing. So I decided, I'm not going to be an artist.
Yeah.
What's the other career that I could get into that involves drawing? So I decided to study architecture. 2 years into it, I discovered that these guys don't make money. Yeah, these guys are broke.
They're telling me they're broke.
No, man.
But it always looked like a fancy profession.
No, you're seeing the top 1% of architects. The rest, the 99%, they're working so hard for very little. And especially if you like an entrepreneur trying to get into the space, you're doing like the bottom of the barrel work. Like it's very hard to make.
Designing in the township, basically.
There's my house plan, and
Not designing skyscrapers.
No. You see, those are the top guys doing that, and usually you find that those companies are European, or it's like the 1% of South African companies. So it's like very monopolized.
Yeah, it's a controlled industry.
It's controlled industry. All the tenders are going to these 1% companies. They're usually big companies, and you as young, fresh, because we're first generation architects. I'm a first architect in my whole family.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's hard to break grounds.
Yeah.
So I did that and I slowly learned about construction because I was exposed to that. From construction, I got exposed to developers. Now we're talking about the guys with the money.
Yeah.
These are the guys shifting the,
the industry.
Yeah. So with that, that's how I started crafting my own business as an entrepreneur and getting into property. So I got in right from the center.
So you got in via construction?
Via construction, yes.
So how do you move from construction? Okay, obviously it's clear part of construction, rental. But people mostly know you talking about building houses, developing themselves, which is also linked to construction. But I meant you talking about rental.
Yeah.
So how did you enter the rental space?
Okay, so with construction, everyone knows that you get your ups and downs. Periods where like construction is booming, you're getting so many projects, and there's times where it's really down. You struggle to get projects. So I went through a phase where things were very, very tough, and I had capital.
Yeah.
Hence my name, Bill Capital, right? So I had capital, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I was trying a lot of things, trying Forex, like blowing money. I was investing in the JSE, losing money sometimes because I had this idea that investing, you should put money in and then see returns the next day. It's there.
Like
so I had
trading.
that mentality, like trading. So when I decided to invest in property, I started at home. So my parents had, 1,000 square meters stand with a house there. My dad actually built rooms in the back. And over time, I started using my skill to, invest in, let's build a room here and then see if we can try this thing. This was 10 years ago when Airbnb was first starting.
Entering the industry.
Yeah. So I saved like 10,000 Rand and then I built some infrastructure there at home. And then we started our first Airbnb and they started making more than rentals. So that's where I started talking about rental property versus rental arbitrage. So things like that, put me in a better financial position when the construction industry was down.
Yeah.
So I was well hedged and it allowed me to survive when, I wasn't getting big projects, and the time I'd get big projects, like a boost.
Just basically bonus for you.
It's a bonus.
So now, was already touched on the conversation of rental, right? And you're also into the selling side as well, because now you also, I see you talking about selling as well, selling property. One conversation is always divide the country, rental versus buying.
Buying, yeah.
Right. You are on the other side. We are the one who like, okay, we are customers. You are the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
person that's selling and also renting
Yeah.
for people. So what's your take in the conversation of buying versus renting?
Okay,
As
so
someone who's in the other side, not like for us as clients who are renting or looking to buy, you as the one that either way you're benefiting. What's your take in the conversation?
it's important to know yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to know your pocket, know where you are in the economy, and know what's going on in the economy. I'm not gonna prescribe that someone should should buy or they should rent. What you need to ask yourself is, all right, since I'm in this financial position, am I ready to invest? Remember, it's not every money that you have. I don't believe that it's not every money that you have that you need to be investing in something outside of yourself. There's times where, like, if you know that, look, I don't have enough knowledge on investing, I need to invest in myself first, right? Because if I just pour money into something that I don't understand, you're just gonna lose money for years.
Yeah, true.
And that it happened to me in my 6-year journey in this company. I spent about 2-3 years where I was just investing in something I didn't understand. So the advantages of renting, to answer your question, are that it gives you time to actually understand all the factors surrounding your purchase.
Yeah.
Right? For instance, if I want to buy an apartment, I need to understand how does the body corporate actually use these levies? Are they using them? Are they putting them in the right place? Is the place being maintained well?
Yeah.
All right. Because remember, when you're investing in property, you're playing a 10-year game. You're playing a 20-year game. So you don't want to be invested in something that is going to be slowly diminishing, in an area that's slowly diminishing. So renting gives you an idea of how are things run. Is there too much load shedding in this place? Are there water cuts? Can I even do rental arbitrage in this place if I was to do that? So my second ever purchase, I spent about a year and a half renting so that I could understand what are the pros of this area.
Yeah.
You know, you need to understand a property not only during the day when an agent takes you to go view. Spend some time, go there. Here's a tip. Go there at around 6 p.m.
In the evening.
Yeah, to a property that you've already viewed. An agent's taking you. Because remember, an agent's going to take you there during the day. It's quiet.
Yeah.
Everything is fine. It looks like, oh, wow, I'd love to live here.
Yeah.
Go there at 6 p.m. when there's
A lot of
congestion, rush hour. People are trying to get into the complex or whatever. Maybe it's a flat. See how it's like on a Thursday. Man bathanda ukuphuza, you know, like, are they drinking around? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, what's going on around this at nighttime? Because I once bought a property and there was so much noise coming from downstairs. This is after, like, I purchased. It's now too late to change your mind. The agent's not going to tell you that, oh, by the way,
the contract is signed. The
there's
deal
some
is
drug
sealed.
addicts. There's some drug addicts downstairs. So the advantages of selling is that gives you that time to grasp enough information and intel on a property that you are going to eventually buy. And then there's other deals such as rent to buy when you feel that you're ready.
And what's your option with rent to buy? Because I always see it as never favoring you as the customer, but favors more. Obviously, every deal always favors the one who's selling, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like rent to buy is at a level where you are at a disadvantage hugely than anything else.
Why do you say so?
Because the way it's structured, right? Most of the time, it fails to reach to the point of actually buying. If you look at it, I remember, I think it was, I may be lying here, maybe it was Money Web that published an article around it. I may be lying here. Which says majority of the time, up to 65%, it fails.
Okay. Is it because it's done through the banks?
Okay, that part I'm not sure. I'm not sure at that point.
Yeah, so there's various ways that you can do a rent to buy. My favorite is a deed of sale contract because it's direct with the owner.
Okay.
So for instance, I myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not an employed person. I don't get a regular salary. Most of my work is contractual.
Yeah.
All right. So for a year and a half, I was renting. And then within 6 months of the second year, I then approached the owner who was in the market to sell because I found out that he's intending to sell the place. So I approached him. I was like, you know what? I really like this place. Are you willing to negotiate on your selling price? Because most apartments that, of the similar size in that particular complex were going for 900,000. So I was able to negotiate a cheaper rate because there's no agent in between. Money is held by attorneys who the seller pays. So I'm not even paying the attorneys. And the deed of sale, I was able to structure it to favor me as a businessman. So in the deed of sale, there's no interest. You're able to fix a price. So whether
That's just fixed. Whether the interest goes up in the world,
so
you're not impacted at all.
exactly. The only disadvantage I'd say is that you're still paying rent while pouring quite a bit of capital into a property, which sometimes can be very, a lot of pressure on you. It's stressful because now it's like, he needs to pay his levies. But, if you have a good understanding with the person, you can customize it to suit you. So deed of sale contract, doing it through the bank can be, I think that's where you get the idea that it's
mostly favors our side hugely.
Usually. And people end up sometimes changing their minds and you realize that look,
midway.
You can't get any of that money back. Yeah.
So now we already covered, I think we've covered majority of the rental space. Now let's move into the actual side of property business. Because most of the time when we speak about property, we talk about what we've covered. Now we'll come back to it, but let's talk about the business side of property, the other side of it.
Development.
Like in South Africa right now, do you think the entry to the development side of property is open? Because I was doing a video about how people can invest into property, and I was like, looking at the big companies who are there, majority of them have a huge monopoly.
No,
Entry level to development as a business, how is it so far for you?
It's very difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It's almost impossible. Like the time when I started, and I'd say I had a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
It's something which I've had difficulty even teaching my students to really get a foot in. There's a lot of risk that's involved. That's why you must imagine that when you are playing with big players who are moving a lot of money, just for you to get a foot in, you need to be taking a lot of risk on your own capital. And that's what really, really makes it difficult. But I'd say in South Africa right now, the economy is not really favorable for, previously disadvantaged people. It's actually even easier for you to go to a country like Zambia. I was actually having a conversation with a gentleman who's involved in agriculture that side this afternoon, funny enough. And he was just telling me like, dude, like there's no visas to come here. Your rent is going to go further. It's easier to get access to land. Land is cheaper.
Yeah.
There. If you just have
go to Zambia, Mus.
I'm telling you. So it's like, it's easier in our neighboring countries to go there and try and develop versus here in South Africa where you feel like you're trying to run underwater. Things are already quite difficult and favoring for people who have a lot more leverage. So I'd say a good place, the trends now in South Africa is that we see a lot of co-buying and, group investments, right? So like stokvels.
Property stokvels.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think for the average person, people like you and I, that becomes an avenue where we can leverage each other's capital and it goes further and faster. That way we go together. So that's becoming more popular nowadays. And these innovations are what's actually boosting a new economy there. So we need to look at new economies and not trying to play against the big guns.
Old money.
You can't play their game. If you can't beat them, you gotta, create your own path. Yeah.
And while you mentioned property stokvel, one thing I've so fascinated about them. Like there was a time, I think it was 2021 during COVID, no 22 during COVID, where I was just studying them, like religiously studying them. And one thing I've noticed about them is their role in the township.
Yeah.
But it's township property space, they're dominating it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you feeling about the township property space right now? I'm like, maybe now asking my own personal advice, but I'm interested in it because I'm looking at how it's becoming more luxury in standard.
Yeah.
Like, are you feeling it's going to be sustainable or it's just maybe a half of the growth of property stokvel? Or like, because it's growing very fast, but the things can grow fast.
Yeah.
Then things can move very fast, like luxury property in the township. It's growing to a level where even people are like, it's too fast for me to be comfortable now. What do you think about it?
I think it's a beautiful thing because into your Stokvel is a culture amongst us as black people. So it's something that we understand. Unlike, old mutual investments, and, things
Property
which
bonds.
bonds
Yeah.
and ETFs and what's the other thing? There's actually REITs
Yeah.
nowadays. And it's a concept which if you understand stocks,
Same as
you get REITs. But for the average person, Stockfell is just something which they understood their mother used to do, their aunt used to do, Gokwake was doing. So it's a
is a
concept which is
culture.
easy to grasp.
Yeah.
And the fact that now people are leveraging more of their capital to get into property, it's a beautiful thing. I actually look forward to it growing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to continue to grow. And it's beautiful to see that they are now taking into cognizance things like architecture.
Yeah.
And there's more talent and skills that those stockfills are leveraging to produce higher quality products. So you see more luxury.
Yeah.
Places like Soweto, Tembisa,
Soweto.
they're starting to really step the game up. And it's something which I think we should be proud of because you don't get to really see this concept pushed anywhere in the UK. And, so it's our own unique, concept. I might even start one myself.
Let me know so I can join. And funny enough, you're talking about Soweto. First time I went to Soweto, drove with a friend of mine because I'm from Pomala original. So like, let's take you to Soweto. We drove to Soweto. Like when you're like from the Mpumalanga, you think of Soweto, you think of what you see on TV.
Yes.
And like, we're here. I'm like, where's the township? Because for me, it looks like it's suburbs. I was like,
it's my suburbs.
So now, while still in the business side of property, right? Branding. And I'm bringing this because you post a story about how sometimes content can actually build and sell, sell your property, sell your houses.
Yes.
Branding in property,
Big
social media in property, the influence of it.
Big time.
How does it work for you? What your mindsets when you're like, okay, let me create content? Like, what's your thinking process? Run me through your thinking process when you're like, I'm mixing content and property to sell a house, to get a tenant.
Yeah, so the first person that actually put me on to branding, so back in 2020, this was during the pandemic, we filmed Mzansi Cribs with Titimba. And at the time, Titimba was like the first black person that I saw like pushing property in that major scale. So we collaborated on season 1 of Mzansi Cribs. And while we were on set, I mean, I was just dressed like normally. No, he put me on the concept of branding myself in every episode. So he was teaching me that, look, if you're gonna be on camera, especially that time I just started, so he made me like put my logo on a t-shirt. And I won't forget what he said. He said that don't let anyone tell your story.
Yeah.
Tell your own story because people will write about you.
In the way they see you.
Yeah.
And who they think you are.
Who they think you are, who you look like, who you sound like. So you've got to own who you are, know who you are, and then own it and then brand it, package it, tell your story. And that's exactly what he did. If you look at his whole story, being the boy from Soweto who loved corner houses. And I learned the concept of branding through him. And I then took that little piece and I ran with it and started, making waves with my own brand, Kayalako Properties.
Yeah.
And it's very important because once you establish yourself in terms of your work, your craft, and especially if your work is quality, then they start to associate that brand. It's not just about the logo, but it's about how you make people feel, right?
Afterwards.
What they associate with you. So for us, how we make people feel, we make people feel like, they're about to get an aspirational home. You don't just do normal homes. Something that people dream of. Is like a dream house. So we associate that level of investment, the level of integrity into our work as you would a dream home. How much effort would you put into your dream home? Ask yourself. So that's what we associate our brand with, and it's the African arts of living.
And I love that. But it helped you a lot in terms of how Now you're selling. Now you're able to push your business.
Yeah.
Taking that and now moving into this conversation, and I'm now coming back to the property side from us as consumers, is the idea of building a house.
Yeah.
Building a house is stressful. And for you, when you see someone and they're like, I'm looking for a space, I'm looking for a house, we first thought, like, okay, well, how will you advise me? Will I buy or build? Because typically people like, building is expensive. So which one, from your experience being in the field, is cheaper? Is it the building or the buying of a house?
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to define what is expensive and what is costly. All right, so people often misconstrue the two definitions.
Yeah.
Something is expensive when the cost of putting the elements together of that thing far outweigh the value of what you get
I see. Yeah.
at the end. Something is costly when the elements of putting that thing together are suitable to a valuable outcome that you wanted, right? So if there's a pair of Nikes, Air Force Ones, everyone knows that the Air Force One is like the best sneaker,
Yeah.
right? So you are willing to pay 3,000 rand for that Air Force One versus maybe a Tommy sneaker. If it was priced the same, you'd say it's expensive, right? Because the value doesn't quite match that of the Air Force One. So when you say that I'd say that building is costly, but costly is all relative to your affordability, right? If you're in the market and you have the affordability to customize your home, because that's essentially what you're doing when you're building. You're customizing your needs, and that is formulating in the form of a building, right? Now, if you're in the market for that, it's costly. We're not going to disagree on that. But if you are not in the market for that, you cannot afford it, then perhaps buying becomes cheaper, but you don't get the credit and the advantage of customizing, same as you would a suit. If you're buying a suit from Markham's, yes, you can get a nice suit from Markham's, but it's not custom. So that's the same with building and buying. Body. Yeah, you gotta. If it's made for you and made for your bank account, then go for it.
See, that's a click right there. Just click that. Just click that. Just put it on TikTok. So now, I don't like my podcast to be too long because I think we've covered so much in so little time. Now, what do you think is the future of, number one, the South African property industry in general, and number two, the township property space? Where do you see those two in the next few years? And just to add on that, do you see most South Africans looking away from the suburbs in town to more township property in the future? There's just a 3 point before we conclude.
Okay, so no, brilliant question. I'd say the trends right now in South Africa, we're in a very exciting time. It's a good time to be a developer because the trends right now are shifting towards sustainable buildings, sustainable living. We see like what we as South Africans have gone through in terms of load shedding, water cuts. People are very frustrated. People run businesses. Some people do business from home. So we're seeing an increase in the popularity of sustainable buildings. So that already is creating a huge margin and huge economy on its own in different communities. So we see things like energy efficient homes. People are converting old homes into sustainable homes by use of solar, by use of borehole water filtration. There's different technologies that are coming into play now, and we're starting to see an integration of technology and architecture. So there's a huge market for that in this country, and I think because we've had so much problems, I think the beautiful thing about South Africans is that when you hit us with problems, we come with solutions. We could be going through the worst things known. I remember there was a time where load shedding was like this concept that overseas they were like, "What? You lost for how long without electricity?" So those are trends that are starting to pop up, and also like we mentioned earlier, which is co-buying and group investment is only gonna grow. You see DJ Spoo, shout out to him. He's doing his thing with the property Stockfell group investment.
And I was following that one with so much interest, that one. It was beautiful the way he structured it. And the marketing of it as well. Genius.
Ekasi.
But anyway, continue, man.
Yeah. So I only see that growing, and what's great is that the Grootmans are actually leading the way. I think more of us young guys need to pay attention and gain more interest because the market is huge. Like I say, don't wait until the Chinese come and scoop the same concept and call it ekasi. Because that's what we see a lot with South Africans. We let other people come and take our culture, our concepts, and sell it back to us. So let's
just
be the ones.
fanciness.
Exactly. Let's be the ones. So those are the top two trends. And then your other question.
In terms of, do you see more people now looking at the township as more lucrative?
Big time. Big time. And just to add to that, even there's now a shift. So Stats SA has released that there's a higher percentage of people of urban rural migration. Remember 20 years ago it was rural urban migration. People are tired of the city. Abantu abaningi bathi I go lakusena next. Like, because people used to come here for job opportunities, but now you're competing with people that went to varsity, you're competing with other nationalities who are migrating into the city. So everyone's congested in the city. There's not many opportunities as there used to be 20 years ago. So we're seeing that for better living conditions and also better leverage to land, there's an urban rural migration going on now. And that's what's giving rise to things like your eco estates. You start to see country estates and things which are modernizing the rural landscape. But I always say that it's Pumakon. No one should be doing it better than us.
We know it better.
Yeah, it's great to see now. I see it's trending now on TikTok, Instagram. There's guys who are taking their salaries, going back to the rurals, building their homes, and they're doing some marvelous things in Limpopo, Mpumalanga. So I see also with ekasi, because some people bazalele ekasi, bakhulele khona, so they don't have rural, abana makaya. So for them, ikaya labo becomes ekasi, and you see them developing, which I think is important because I don't think Black people should be living the way they are currently. Yeah.
So now to end, before I allow you to make your last outro and what people should know or think you'll do in the next few months, I want to ask you a game, right?
Yeah.
Give you 5 provinces. I want you to rank them on which one will you focus on building in, because you're a property guy.
Yeah.
KZN will be number 1 in terms of move your business. I gotta go to KZN number 1 or what?
KZN is good. I love the stuff they're doing in Belito, but it's kept quite high.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be my top one.
No, in terms of the top 5. What would it be? Number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, Eastern Cape.
Ooh. I like the Eastern Cape actually. I like the Eastern Cape.
It's good for agriculture actually.
Yeah, the agricultural, the rural land is beautiful. It's just for the scenic nature, as well as the opportunity. I think Eastern Cape is slept on. I actually studied there. So I'd put them at a firm number 2.
Okay, now let's go to
Northwest. Okay, so that's like your Mufftown.
Yeah.
All right. So I've done projects there. I love the dam. I'd put it at number 3.
Okay, Howden. Now
Wait, I want to know
there's 2 spots left.
There's 2 spots now. Gauteng.
There's number 4 and number 1 left.
Number 4. I hope my number 1 is the one that I want. But I'll put it at number 4.
And Limpopo number 1.
Okay, that's to go number 1. Not bad.
So man, like any future plans that you want people to look out for in terms of your project, your brand, your work, your business?
Yeah, we're busy with a series right now with Let's Prop In. So we've just filmed episode 1 where we're taking people through the building process. You get to see what it's like to build a luxury home. So we're going on that journey with them. So be on the lookout for, I think it will be a 5-episode series. Currently on episode 1, we'll be shooting episode 2 real soon. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I know a lot of people in the DM, they like to ask me like, yo, can I shadow you? Can I spend some time with you? And the fact of the matter is I don't always have time because I'm also building my business. So what we have is an academy where we've got other courses. Our top selling course was Real Life Monopoly. And basically that teaches you as a beginner, as well as, I'd say a starter-up investor, how to start investing in this economy. So our stuff is very relevant to South Africa and the opportunities where we leverage different apps and different technologies in order to start investing in property, start earning some income. Like right now, I'm earning some income out of property, and it's not the traditional way.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that, as well as we have some brand new projects that we're releasing
Yeah.
through another project of ours called Kaya Tech Homes. So we're fusing, like I mentioned earlier, technology and property, creating smart homes, smart technology, where you can actually have prefabricated homes and use those for Airbnb, use those for things like game lodges and stuff like that, and make more than what people would make the traditional way.
Oh, that's interesting. Man, when you launch, please call me.
For sure.
But thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate having you.
I appreciate
It was
you.
wonderful. And everyone watching, guys, all these details, like where to find him, will be in the description of this video or in the the Apple Podcast or Spotify description. Until next time, guys, I am Ivan Sambo. I used to say you're student investor, but now I've rebranded, guys. So until next time, happy investing.